why don't we do a database, a new file, data. Okay. All right, what do we want to do? Oh, sorry, I almost spilled my coffee. Let's keep this as simple as possible. And we want it to hit our database. Database went over here. So if we go actually to our API reference, I think, and we do, see here's core, LangChain, yada, yada, yada. Oh, experimental, that's what it was. So there's community, there's LangChain, community integrations. We're integrating with AWS. There's Anthropic if you want to go directly to it. You can also find all the integrations over here. There's a lot of them. There's Mongo, there's Couch, and just click on it and see how to do it. But what I want to do is, I think it's just SQL database. Yeah, right here. So that's what we want to use. Now this is in the Python. So when you go up to code, it's going to give you Python or JavaScript, I think it is. So, but this gives me what I need here for, say from Databricks, get URL, this is what we want. So let's go over here and let's say from LangChain community. Oh, that was it. Is it utilities? I don't know if it is or not. No. Yeah, let's see if it's smart enough to, it's supposed to be smarter than me, right? And again, that is Amazon. All right, so we'll take that. Now what I want to do though, I could put that in a separate class. Problem is when I do a breakpoint, you're going to see what my password is. So that's fine. I'll cut that out of the video if I have to. So that's kind of cool. Oh yeah, these are things that you can get. I don't know what that is. Well, I do, but we're not going to deal with that yet. So I can get the dialect and can also get the table information. So what I might do, I don't have a customers table, but you could say that run, but that's not what we want to do, is it? So this is going to be connecting to our database. Okay, yeah, we have to bring this in, sorry. So pip install. So this is the connector I'm using. You can't see my connection string, but it's using ODBC connection. So, and I think I can bring in pandas later, but I really want to bring in pandas, so we'll deal with that later. And there we go. So the only thing we did was we're just using this LangChain SQL database. We put in our information about the database, right? And we create a URL, and we told the database, which is from here, to open up that URL. Now, a lot of this is pretty basic if you ever done anything with like SQL Alchemy. But let's see what we got. So here it knew our tables, right? It picked 3 rows, which is kind of cool. Our metrics table, it picked 3 rows. Oh, metrics saw me. Okay, cool. So it did everyone. I forgot to have those extra tables. Sorry about that. But if we keep going on down, it actually, so the last thing I did was to select the top 10 from data. So it actually kicked off our SQL query. Now, how cool is that? So that's pretty straightforward. So what we're going to do now is let's do some more cool stuff. All right. So the one thing I want to do is make this more, I'm trying not to use the term agent, but trying to make this more friendly for what we're trying to do, right? So let's go over here and grab some chat information. We're going to grab this. I don't think I want to do this yet. We're just going to keep it very simple. And I may stop the video after this one and then do some agents later. We'll see. But let's see. So what else we want to do? Let's bring over this information here. Copy. And we'll put this here. Here. Okay. I don't think it really matters if I debug or not, right? So I'm going to clean that up. Now, let's just get a simple question. Let's just say question equals, oh, it's on the Van Halen thing. How many users? I don't think it's called name. So we want to be careful because it's not a user, right? Because we're users. Let's go look at our data. Here it is. So how many? Oh, you know what we can do is how many? Tell me the sum of values for users with names that start with G, because I know there's something in there. And what it needs to do is come down here and map those two to this table. Select all. Let's just make sure value. Make sure I don't have a value in this table. Okay, I don't. That way it's smart enough to say, oh, that's the value. Okay, cool. So now we need to execute that. So here what we're going to do is we're going to chain these together because that's kind of what it's doing, right? That actually should have been above that. It doesn't really have to be. It can be anywhere as long as that's before you call it. And we're just going to go ahead and comment this out because that was just for test purposing. Now there are some things in the DB if you look. So there's schema also, but I didn't do it right. So let's see. We want, we'll just call it results. Results equals, and then db dot chain question. Okay. And we want to print out results. What'd you put this? One thing I did do on that one break is I put it in a try catch just because that's best practice. Am I missing something? Because chain should make sense. Oh, we forgot to set up the chain. Yeah, thank you. That just did it for me. Ta-da! That's what it is. So we didn't set the chain up. Okay, oops, sorry. We got this. There we go. Now that'll work. Now go. Well, at least that's a little bit better. We got some information back. Here's some. So let's shorten our. How many names start with G? Let's just say, tell me how many names. Oh, that was kind of, yeah, that was a bad, sorry. I had users and all kind of crap in there. We didn't clean up our question. So let's try it again. It's like, dude, I do not know what you're trying to do. Here we go. So this is what I was expecting. Tell me about G. Okay, perfect. Still isn't enough information to answer started. The tables provided do not contain the data within the names. Tell me, maybe I need to define it a little bit more. The details table, tell me how many names in the details table that start with G. Now, let's see. Let's try that again. But it's kind of getting, so you kind of get the point, right? It's really not being as happy as I was hoping it would be. Oh, here we go. Now that worked. So I knew which table to look at. The reason it was getting confused is because I got more than one table with names in there. So now if I say, tell me, let's get rid of all this because I'm really screwing this up. I want to keep that down. Tell me the total of value in the table that have names in the details table that start with G. You'll see how crazy this is. But you kind of get it, right? So this is kind of how it works. But the most important thing I want to show you is we didn't do a lot of code here, right? It was just a very simple code. And unfortunately, it's okay. It's really making me mad about that total situation. But that's okay. For some reason, it worked the other day, but I think I only had 2 tables. Now, with saying that, let's talk about this one more thing about an order of chain events that I want to put it in. And then we'll call it quits on this, and we'll go to something more challenging. Let's see, paste. Okay, right here's what we want. So this pulls things in a sequential chain, which kind of gives it away from what the name is, right? So let's clean up one more time, and let's do that. And again, here we're just referencing our, our connection. We're making a connection. We're defining our parameters in our model. I've talked about this stuff before. We're actually connecting to a Bedrock model, right? The Claudia. Throwing a question up there, and then I'm grabbing the model, the database, and there's another setting too that I could actually see a trace. That one will give me complete details. We'll look at that in a few seconds. But if you remember, even if I didn't do the chain, I still was able to just pull the database by itself, right? But what's the point of this if we don't use a model? Let's look at this one more time and see what this media step gives us. Let's just say go. Now what this is going to do is it should give us more information. So there's an error near due, but that's kind of odd because if I say, tell me how many names in the, now let's run it again since we have this, our SQL query, this answer. So, and then it actually gives us a really nice printout here as well. Okay, so we want to look at one more thing. We're going to take this and we're going to comment this one out, and we're going to make a sequential call. So obviously I still need this. Oops. We still need that, and we still need that. We'll go ahead and keep our try, and let's go ahead and just keep all this right here because we're still going to need to connect. And then let's go down to here, and let's put that there. Okay, so now let's clean this up a little bit. Oh, we need our OS, so let's go back up here, right there. Okay, and let's just get rid of these, just keep it clean. And that's there. Okay. So let's think about this. This time we want to import this one. So let's go ahead and put that there. Okay, and we're still going to need our Bedrock, and we're still going to need our database. So let's go ahead and just bring those in. Okay, and let's see. So that will give us our connection. Let's do our Bedrock connection. Just bring this up so we can keep some kind of order here. Well, we need it after this, don't we? So, yep, all this right here. Now, a lot of this you can just pass in as part of parameters. You don't have to do it this way. But I find this is easiest. And we're actually going to do something. Let's create a prompt. What do I need for the prompt? I don't think I do. So we're just going to call it prompt. Okay, we'll keep it stupid simple too. Well, prompt equals 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then in here we're going to say something like given an input question, first create a correct, I'll correct my spelling in a few minutes, correct SQL query to run, then look at the results of the query and return the answer. Okay, so we're giving it steps, right? We're giving it information to do. And the question is, we're going to pass in the question so we know what it is. And we'll define that below. Okay. So what we're doing is we're getting more realistic to what we want it to do. So input, and this is, so let's see, SYACT. What am I missing? Oh, missing a C. Okay, there we go. Now, let's create our chain. Bam. I don't know if that's it, but we're going to grab it and see. Okay, so this time we're using a chain, sequential chain from, we have our bedrock from above, which is our Claudia, the database connection, verbose, query, and just for kicks and giggles, just show you that I can, we're going to say top minus K equals 1. And I'm going to take it out up here. Okay. And yeah, that's fine. So DB chain. And then on our question, we need to find our question now. Let's see. Question. Now, I don't know what this is. Oh, you know what? I think it built it one for me. Let's grab this. Question. What was the question? How many names in the database? Okay, so that's our same question. All right, so that's going to be there. Let's put a space. And then here, our results. Let's see if that's right. DB run prompt format and question equals question. Now you can do it inline like this, but if you have a long question, you probably want to do it more like this, and you probably want to use the 3 single quotes, because in Python that allows you to have spaces and all that cool jazz. So then print results. Yep. There's an error with this one that I found in Windows 2, and there's a way around this, but it's really when you're using whenever you're trying to use LangChain with this actual model, the way it brings back its query is not correct, and I'll show you why. But that's okay, because we wouldn't do it this way anyway. We would put it in an agent. I just wanted to show you what this was. So here, it's entering the LangChain. You're going to get an error here. And if you notice this error, so now you're like, Tim, what is this? The truth is, if you were going to do this, it says, well, first of all, let me tell you what the agent did. Given the input question, so it print back what our instructions were. The question was, what is the count of users that start with a G in the data table? And we know what that is, right? And what it's doing is it's looking at the model, the database. And again, we can add more databases in there if we wanted to. Now, we can put, documents, right? So it's kind of how we can put knowledge-based type documents in there if we want to. Now, but it's running this query, select count from details where your name is like G, and then it throws this error because there's bad syntax. And the reason being, SQL, the provided SQL query looks good. There are common mistakes that I can see. Here's the query again. If you notice, it puts this, it's kind of, well, let me see. What if I take this? My point is you could parse that out. I did that before, and it actually worked. But for some reason, it has an error generating the correct SQL. And I even told it to give its output as a SQL query. Let's see, file, new query, paste. See, that looks right. And then if I run it, it still looks good. The only thing I could think of is maybe because it puts this bracket here, but I think that bracket's there because of that. And I think it's trying to run this. So I don't really know, but I did Google, and it turned out that this sequences chain has problems executing the JSON only on that model. So if you're using a different model, or if you're using the ChatGPT API, it seems to work, right? Anyway, so I waste a lot of time just to get this one to work, just to show you how that works. But I'm going to stop this video, and we're going to start a fresh one, and we're going to create our agents. Now, we'll probably use the same project because this one seems to be okay. But again, it's just some short little code. There's not a lot of lines of code here, right? So this is loading our variables here. So if you don't know what that is, again, Google it or ask me, but you can just Google that and it will tell you. But what this means is I have these hidden in this file over here, just so you can't see them. And the truth is, if you did this correctly, you'd probably have one for security, you'd probably have one for shared, right? You may have one for production, one for QA, and you can load those depending on which one you want. Now, And you can actually, if you do values, it actually will come back as a dictionary, which is kind of cool because then you can control them. But anyway, so we create our connection string. We executed the connection string with a SQL up here. The SQL is LangChain. That's very important. We define some parameters, and this is pretty straightforward. I've done this before in AWS, right? I talked about in a video on that. And then we basically called the Bedrock model is what we're doing here. So if I go to Bedrock, it's here. And again, I did videos on that. I did type out the DB so I can see if it's working. Hopefully you didn't see that. If you did, oops. And then, yeah, I don't think I screwed up high enough for you to see that. And then we prompt it, right? So given an input, first, so we're giving it steps, right? And the way you train the model is the more information you give it to tell it what to do. Well, I say the model, it's not really the model, but the more I train, and I don't really call this an agent. This is just code, right? You'll see why when we look at the agent. But anyway, giving this, we're going to say, give an input question, do this, then do this. So first thing I tell you is to create a SQL and then run it. Now, this may work if I say something different, right? So I may say, don't create the SQL, just, find me this result. And it may work because I did on the other one, right? I think that's the piece that fails, to be honest with you. And then I just print out the question because now that's a variable. So if I have other variables, I can pass those in as well. And I may do a video to show you that because it is pretty cool. I did do that one. Here we're calling the sequence chain, not the original one. The original one was called right here. So a database chain, okay? Pretty common sense. This one goes in order. So the lambda, and then not the lambda, I'm sorry, the model, and then the database, verbose, and use query checker. Maybe I should take that off. That's what I'm fighting. Let's just run it again without that, just kicks and giggles. And let me go up here and get rid of this. Okay. Oh, that was a type anyway, so it wouldn't give you the, okay, so let's just run this and see if it does something different. So take a sip of my coffee. It did. That actually worked. So that checker is what broke. So what is the count of the users in the database? It gives you the answer and then double checks for some reason, but that's just the way it works, right? So here it wrote the query and it ran it, and that's the answer. And if I look over here, 1089, that is the right answer. So kind of cool. If you want to parse out the results, you could. And then it does it again. Here's the SQL query. And then the finished chain. Yep. So kind of cool though, right? So this is it. Pretty straightforward, very simple. I hope this was kind of useful. Most important is what I want to show you is how easy it is to work with these models using the LangChain. Have fun. Next, we'll talk about the agent. Before I end this video, I want to add one more cool thing. But it was just on a chain. So let's do one more for kicks and giggles because I like the way this one worked. So we're just going to keep this one simple. Chain DB. And we probably shouldn't grab most of what we had over here. So we definitely need all this, right? Now, we may not need these, so we'll go back and get rid of those. I'm just going to take those out. We'll add those as we need them. Oh, we do need the database one. So we can just say from LangChain, and that one is in the LangChain experimental SQL. And we're going to say import. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's utilities, not. So that's one thing you got to be careful with too is, so it's communities dot utilities. Is it underscore utilities or dot utilities? I thought it was the whole name. Dot this one, okay. Import. Now that's what we needed. SQL database. Okay, cool. Now that will give us this. We need our just because try is there, which is should always be. Let's go ahead and grab that. And let's hit enter a couple of times. Okay. And now what we want to do is kind of cool. We're just going to say, you know, let's bring in our bedrock from LangChain. And our bedrock is going to be in our AWS. Boop. Import. Yeah, chatbot's fine. Now let's see, let's go down to here. Because there's something kind of cool I want to show you. And let's create our chain. Oops, let's bring it over. Chain equals create SQL. Now see, this option here is kind of cool because we're going to say, now give me my LLM, which we got to define. LLM and our DB equals DB. Okay, bad naming conventions. I get it. But let's go up here and create our LLM. So LLM equals chat bot, right? Chat bedrock. There we go. And we're just going to say model equals, but I don't care about all this. So we're just going to leave it default, right? Again, we're talking about how simple this is. So now, so we're going to say response equals chain invoke. Cool, it's exactly what I wanted. Now, in our response, there's one more thing we could do that's kind of cool. We can say chain.get, oops, if I spell it right, now see all this that you can do, map, there's a lot of stuff you can do in this chain function here, right? But what I want to do, like even config schema, get graph, I want to figure that one out. That's kind of cool. Input JSON schema, input schema. There's a lot of stuff that you can get here. But I want to say prompts, and it's an array, so we want the first one, and that's going to be dot pretty print. If you've ever used, there's a pretty print for JSON, and it's also for that. So I might be able to pull it up from here. Yeah, so pinned. The only difference is since it's an array, we have to pick the first one. So there it is. It didn't show up there, but that's okay. All right, so, and now we just want to, yeah, that's fine. Let's just see what this gives us. Go. And the good thing about this Amazon Q and the other one is it actually does me a favor because I don't have to remember all that stuff, right? So here is, what is the names? This, you're a, so this is kind of what it's saying to itself, right? Now use the format, and use only the table. So it's kind of cool that you can use this. You know what? I probably should do this though, because it doesn't really make sense, does it? No, that's kind of cool. I'll take it. But let's do print. And now let me run it again. Go. I think I just said debug, but it doesn't matter because we don't have any breakpoints. It takes a few minutes to kick off, right? But that's fine. Okay, there we go. Yep, same thing. That's all good. I think this is the pretty print part. You just have to kind of play with it and see. Because, yeah, this right here is, because it's that piece. So this is what it gave us to break apart so we can debug a little bit more. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you because I found that and I thought it was kind of cool.